Welcome back, Michigan Melee, to another episode, Michigan Smash Storytime. This time just in time for the
Michigan Arcadian 5.
Yep, we're going to be doing the history of the Michigan Arcadians.
So we wanted to bring you up to speed because I think that the Arcadian, as you put it best, it's really the story of the Michigan mid-level.
It really is.
And so we'd like to tell the story. There's been 4 up till now. The first one actually goes under a different title of Spartan Stadium Arcadian. That was actually my first tournament that I TO'd personally.
It's a long time back. What was that, 2 full years ago? 2.5 years ago.
Wow, yeah, probably.
Yeah,
it's a long time. By myself, carried by a beach and jungle guy. I really need a lot of help. It was a stressful tournament, and I even entered in it. But it was a blast. Everyone loved the Arcadian, and so it became a staple of Michigan Melee.
And that was like a whole different era in Michigan Melee and in Smash in general. Like we had 60-ish entrants, and that was like quite a bit. Like, wow, that's like a good sized tournament. Where now it's like 60 entrants. Like you didn't even get like a normal weekly size.
Right. Most of the suites were around 60, 70 entrants back then in 2014.
Yeah, that was like the suite 16, 17, 18 series or whatever.
Yep, it was a 13 to 16.
Yeah, 13 to 16.
That was January to April of 2014.
Okay, so going in, famously, the person who got first place, we'll go through the placings at all the Arcadians. The person who got first place at the first Arcadian was Rayquaza.
So you may have seen him at Big House 5 top 8. He got a 5th there in Smash 4.
A lot of people say to me, like when I bring up Rayquaza, like he used to play Melee? Yes, he did used to play Melee. He played Jigglypuff. It was slow is a nice way to say it. Very methodical, campy. Some people use other words we shouldn't say. That's he beat a lot of good players.
This was really fascinating because he started playing Melee about 4 months before the Arcadian. Picked up Puff. He was already one of the top players in Brawl by the time Brawl was truly starting to die, and so he was switching over to Melee before Smash 4, and he entered Arcadian, and nobody really had him as a favorite to win.
That was his first Melee tournament too, right? I'm pretty sure.
It was his first outside of like weeklies. It was his first Saturday tournament, and it really just it was a huge slap in the face to all the people who had been playing Melee for years that just were really starting to think that they were getting better and improving, and they were, but it showed that tournament mentality was worth so much more, especially in the case of the Arcadian.
Yeah, because most of these players at Arcadians, as you'll see as we go through, are people that aren't traditionally in top 8s. They don't have that experience playing for a lot of pressure and a lot of money. Like a lot of these people are somebody's gonna walk away with $1,000. Like that's stressful. Okay, not $1,000, almost $1,000. But like, it's really scary to do that kind of thing. And when you have a play style like Rayquaza or like Butch G, who got second place at the first Arcadian, it's really easy to do that versus somebody who got 3rd, 4th, 5th, like Blake, Soul, Ginger in that order.
Right.
Space Animals, that's hard.
It shows that at the Arcadian, floaties perform well because they wear down their opponents, and it becomes about stamina. So, going through the placings. Second place went to Butch G, another people that people did not expect to do well. Both of these people were not even the top 8 seeds of the tournament, surprisingly. And it just really kind of shocked everyone that these two are in the finals. Now, following behind them was what many considered to be the favorite.
I think he was like the 2 seed in the tournament, something like that.
Blake.
Who you may not know. I've had some people even say to me, like, I'll bring up Blake, they're like, he's that Puff main from Kalamazoo, right? It's like, well, no, he used to actually play Fox. He was a player from this era and even kind of before. He had been on the PR. He'll be on the PR after Spartan Stadium Arcadian, and he was a very good player, like, very competent Fox.
Yep. No, he also was one of the people who became HM after this. So would many of the other people listed on this placing. So at 4th, we had the 1 seed. He had the best results, including a win over Moose and Pools at a suite, was Soul. Another Spacey, you may know him also as the old school Mario Bros player, but he is from Detroit, and he went on to also become an HM and performed very strongly for about a year after that.
Then another person who went on to have some Michigan Melee success.
A familiar face was Ginger. And Ginger, this was when he played Fox too. So these are all these Foxes lining up to really try and take it against these floaties. But
I think most of them did lose to Rayquaza. Well, obviously they lost Rayquaza or Butch, so that shows.
He became HM after that season as well.
And then also in 5th place was Sky, who you'll hear
about him a lot more.
Yeah, for sure.
And he is Luigi Master Chay's brother. He only plays Samus.
Yep.
And he would become HM 2 seasons after this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
As you will see.
Mm-hmm.
But then in 7th place, we had Kinglet and TM. Kinglet, I actually don't remember much about, in all honesty. That was like really long ago. TM obviously has gone on to be a PR HM player. We all know Sawyer.
Yeah. Kinglet is funny because he decided to live with KZU Kalamazoo.
Uh-huh.
And then he got so frustrated with playing KZU that he just stopped playing, and he would live with KZU but not play Smash.
But play no melee. And he was famous for the person who beat Shibby, who was really on his come up in this tournament as well.
Right. And then in 9th place, we'll just talk about a few of them because they'll set up the storyline for the next one. Helsing would go on to become an HM.
Mm-hmm.
The Oak and Zbet both got 9th, and we'll see them in the next.
And they played at this tournament. It started a rivalry with the two of them. I mean, if you guys care about mid-level rivalries.
That was a really heated rivalry for like a while. Zbet would come out and to Lansing and just play him for hours.
Yep. Yeah, God, I remember those sets. Okay, so moving on to the second Arcadian. This was a full year after the first Arcadian, so quite a big switch. A lot of people thought things were really going to get shook up. Like the people who did really good at the last Arcadian, they really weren't going to do great. Like they were so sure. Then Bush won.
It was a whole year, and people had just everyone had this confidence that the scene has completely changed.
Totally different.
I was guilty of this too.
Oh,
everything's changed, and then someone who had not been playing for pretty much the majority of that year, Butch G, just completely outplayed everyone. It was a really heated Game 10 set with Sky.
Yeah, big grand finals.
People did not have him picked really to perform that well either. It was probably the closest grand finals set in the history of the Arcadian.
It was a very good set. And then further down there,
it was upsetting though because we were sitting there and we had just had an entire season of Sweets where we watched Armada versus KZ grand finals, and we're like, wow, we're gonna mix it up. We're gonna watch something different for grand finals, and we still had Peach Sam's grand finals with KZ and Duck commentating, I believe.
Yeah, so at least we had the right commentators.
Yep.
And still, it was rough. Some of those grand finals were long and drawn out for sure.
And then here we saw the importance of confidence in the Arcadian. Niels got 3rd. I don't think people had him picked to do that well, but he really just went off and just never got tired. Always got just so believed in himself, and then every time he got a win, he got more and more excited and pumped for the next set.
Yeah, I remember him just continually getting more psyched. This kind of was the Falco Arcadian too. Like there were a bunch of Falcos right around where Mules is.
This was I remember. I think KGH won the draft crew battles by picking a bunch of Falcos.
Yeah, I remember. Yep.
And then at 4th we had Juan. He was the favorite and the 1 seed to win this tournament. Many think that because he lost early to Zbet after an SD last game, that stamina really affected him.
Yeah, this was for people who don't know. This was right around when Juan came to Michigan. He's originally from Florida, and he had done really well in a couple Sweets. He kind of
I think he outplaced where HM.
He even was HM, so he was placing better than he kind of is now or whatever. So that was why he was the 1 seed. If people don't realize that.
Yeah. And then at 5th, we had the Oak and Zbet. Same people you saw in 9th, moving up together. They didn't play each other at this tournament, but it would have been cool to see. 7th place, familiar face, Parzival, and the Smash 4 god Zenodo tried his hand at Melee, and he got 7th as well.
This was kind of a Parzival's breakout tournament, I would say.
Yeah, no, it was pretty surprising.
He beat a bunch of Spaceys, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think that's actually accurate.
Yeah, and then Zenodo, obviously, another Smash 4 player, does really well, but not as good as Rayquaza.
No, I think he's better now. I think he's the number 1 player in Michigan.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yep. But it did tell us that you couldn't come from another game and win the Arcadian anymore, no matter how good you are at tournament mentality.
So maybe the scene had changed in some way.
It had changed somewhat. And then just an interesting 9th placer, we'll see the appearance of Napkin.
Yep. A lot of times you'll see people will appear in 9th place, and they'll move up after that into more Arcadians. They will have done well in further tournaments. You'll see more of that in a second. So moving on to Michigan Arcadian 3, there's one big storyline here. And it's
6 months later.
It's the snub. It's the yo-yo snub from the PR. It was one of those famous Michigan Melee threads that blew up. Everybody was very angry that yo-yo didn't get ranked, and it was a lot because of U memes and how they were registered. And we don't need to get into that discussion, but Yo-Yo had a mission. He had a mission out there to go, yeah, I should have been on the PR.
And the probably the most interesting thing about it was just the number of stocks he took in the draft crews, the way he looked. Everyone had him picked to win it. He was by far and away the favorite.
Which is the only time we've had the favorite win like that.
Yeah, it actually is. And so he proved it. I think that if we look back at that PR, maybe Helsing didn't deserve to be on it. Honestly, we kind of gave him the
hindsight.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's the thing with PRs, though. Without delving into this too much, is like they're kind of sticky, and it's supposed to be hard to get onto them. You're supposed to, because we gave Yo-Yo a chance to do something big. Exactly.
Number 10 might always be the biggest debate.
People remember the Russell debacle back in the day, but then a large breakout in second place was Tran. This was the first time, like, I've known Tran for a long time. He's always kind of had tournament nerves. This was the first time I've really seen him play like super well and on point for multiple sets in a row.
Tran had always shown his like ability in some sets, but sometimes he would drop randomly to like mid tiers or just random people and Marths. And this was the first time he stayed consistent the whole tournament, didn't like get down on himself, and really like after this we would see him come back to the HM list and just be a really strong overall player.
It was even famously Silent Wolf was in the chat saying that he liked his fox. So, history lesson.
Another great story here was that despite not playing for basically 6 months, Mules got third again.
Yep. Confidence, guys. It's important.
Yeah, it's really important. If you want advice to the Arcadian, just believe in yourself, I guess.
Yeah, because Mules definitely believed in himself. I can't believe he got third again.
I think I was shocked. I was like, okay, he's still obviously going to do well. Like, you can't just get third and get bodied.
Yeah, it's like he hasn't been playing. Like, he hasn't played Melee.
Oh, man. At fourth, Napkin made his way up to fourth place after getting ninth of the last one.
This is the rise of Napkin.
And Fall. Oh, no, he played for the rest of that season. Okay, yeah. The Oak and Juan, just familiar names of the Arcadian at this point, they both got fifth.
Classic East Lansing people.
Yeah, they normally play each other, but I don't think they played at this one. Zebet and
Morse Code.
Who
we will, as you guys know at this point, we'll talk about him in a second.
Yeah. Morse Code appears at seventh. Kind of starts to show his colors because he'd really been grinding that year and like was starting to. I think he was on the net play ground.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. I remember him being a net play warrior. Like people telling me that.
And some interesting ninth placers. Sky, not his best tournament,
but still placing in top 9. So.
And then this is the first time we see names like Crip and Heartstrings making it into the top 12.
Who are big favorites for this weekend or tomorrow?
Yeah, and they did well at the next one. So 6 months later, again, we're down to May 2016.
Yeah, so even this year.
Yeah, not too long ago. We had MIA4. There wasn't too much of a storyline going into this one. We had a lot of players who, it was hard to say who would take it. Amongst the PR players, they were unanimously saying that Tran was going to win.
Yeah, especially because we lost a lot of the people who had been placing highly throughout the years. Mules, the Oak. Juan got less active. Like, he still plays.
Tran became... he took like 10 stocks in the draft cruise. And everyone was just saying, all these PR players, they were telling me, like, Tran's going to win. He's far and away the most... He's just a whole level above everyone else at this tournament. But, as you'll see, Morse Code was that one who ended up winning it.
He just slowly wore him down. I'm not super sure. We could check. For narrative, we'll say there was. There was a bracket reset. He wore him down.
I don't think there was. I think he did it without taking a set.
Oh, you're saying you think Morse Code went straight through winners? Okay.
Oh, he went through winners. Yeah, I think so. And then we had Tran. He did get second again, so obviously he shows that he is consistent at the Arcadian. Third place, we had Crip, which was pretty cool. He got double eliminated by Tran.
So Fox Puff, I mean, hey. What do you expect?
Then at fourth, Napkin again at fourth. So another familiar face.
Then another Sheik.
Heartstrings gets fifth.
It's a big rise for him.
Along with Thugs, who was the dark horse of the tournament. Mainly because I thought he was in Michigan not playing, but it turns out he had been in NorCal training with Moose and Kalamazoo. So
that's rough.
I didn't know that. Wish I had. At seventh, we had I4N and Sky's back in top 8.
So Sky's gotten top 9 at every Arcadian. I'm just recently realizing.
Yep, in top 8 at 3 out of the 4.
Dang, that's pretty good.
And then at ninth, inactivity is finally starting to set in for some players. Zebet and Juan. Dark Lewis, who...
Zebet is in bad luck if inactivity starts setting in for him.
Yeah.
Be bad news.
Dark Lewis made also, because this was the first tournament he was allowed back in, he had been ineligible because we thought that before we added Toledo to the Michigan PR, he had been considered, he would have been an HM in some periods. So he got 9th and proved that he wasn't, or that our decision was accurate there.
And then a huge dark horse I want to shout out, Control at defeat.
Yeah, no, I totally knew that he was going to do good. He just didn't have the results yet, but I knew just his play that was solid and he would have a strong performance. And I guess hilariously enough, we could mention that Niels got 13th, so inactivity started setting in at this tournament.
Yep, it really did. Oh wow, yeah, I didn't even realize that. I thought he just didn't go. So
yeah. Shout out to Niels. I actually love Niels. He's so funny.
He's a good guy.
So
that's the history of the Arcadians. You can see we've been doing them pretty periodically. There was like first Arcadian, year gap, another Arcadian, 6 months, 6 months, 6 months. So it's a pretty good yardstick for the Michigan Melee mid-level.
Definitely. But yeah, no, I think that this weekend, who's your pick?
Ooh, who's my pick? I'm going with my boy, New Aziz Tran.
Okay.
I think you got it.
I think I want to go with Tran too. Honestly, I think my favorite, if he really takes it seriously, would be Heartstrings.
Ooh, I could see that.
Mm-hmm. And then I think Paz is definitely like the biggest question mark of the tournament.
For sure.
It was on a lot of matchups as well with him.
And always mindset, like that's the Arcadian stuff. Guys, don't be scared. You can do it. You really can.
And then there's a lot of strong players in the like 9 to about 20 range that are just could upset anyone. I think.
Yeah, it's always a mess.
So we'll see. Many of them have upset the top 8 seeds. So it's just I'm excited to see how the bracket plays out. I'm playing in it. Are you?
Yeah, I'm playing in it.
Are you going box?
Oh, it's a loaded question.
Okay. Well, I'll be going box. So I'll see you guys there, and we're so happy to have you on Michigan Smash Storytime with Stif and 2Shadez. We'll probably be back in about a little under a week to give you the results of MIA 5. So see you then.